Welcome to American Pulse and Paranormal. Tonight, we embark on part 3 of our journey into the eerie and enigmatic world of Poveglia Island. For the best experience, we recommend wearing headphones. Let's dive into the haunting tales of this cursed island, as recounted by Marco, the grandson of a man who once walked its haunted grounds. Last chapter of my grandfather's chilling tales of Poveglia Island. The stories you've heard over the past 2 nights have been more than just horror. They are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable darkness. The third night, as my grandfather, Dr. Giovanni, sat with me by the fire on that final night, the weight of his stories seemed to hang in the air. "Marco," he began softly, "there are still more truths that need to be told. The island's horrors did not end with the doctor's disappearance. The spirits of the island are still restless, their cries for justice echoing through the corridors of the abandoned asylum." My grandfather's voice was heavy with the memories of the past. He described the island as a place shrouded in mist and mystery, a place where the line between the living and the dead was blurred. "The island has always been a place of suffering," he said. "Long before the asylum was built, it was used as a quarantine station during the plague. Thousands of people were sent here to die. Their bodies were burned in mass graves, and their souls were left to wander the island, trapped in a purgatory of pain." As Giovanni spoke, I could almost see the island in my mind's eye. The dark, twisted trees, the crumbling buildings, the faint cries of the restless spirits. It was a place that seemed to exist outside of time, a place where the past was always present. "One of the most tragic stories," Giovanni continued, "involves a nurse named Isabella. She was young, compassionate, and dedicated to helping the patients despite the horrors that surrounded her. She witnessed the doctor's experiments and tried to stop him, but she was powerless against his authority. After the doctor vanished, Isabella took it upon herself to care for the remaining patients. But the weight of what she had seen and the relentless presence of the spirits took a toll on her mind. Isabella's story was one of sorrow and sacrifice. She had come to the island with the hope of helping the sick and the suffering, but she had been drawn into a nightmare from which there was no escape. Giovanni described her as a beacon of light in the darkness, a symbol of hope and compassion. "She did everything she could to make the patients' lives a little more bearable," he said. "She sang to them, read them stories, and held their hands as they took their last breaths. But the horrors she witnessed were too much for her to bear." Giovanni's voice was filled with sorrow as he spoke. Isabella began to experience nightmares, and she heard voices that no one else could hear. The spirits of the patients who had suffered under the doctor's hand reached out to her, seeking solace and release. Despite her best efforts to help them, the burden became too great. One night, Isabella disappeared. Some say she took her own life, driven mad by the constant whispers and the guilt she felt for not being able to save the patients. Others believe that the spirits took her, leading her to a place where she could find peace. The room grew colder as Giovanni continued. Her body was never found, but her presence is still felt on the island. Visitors have reported seeing a ghostly figure in a nurse's uniform, wandering the halls of the abandoned asylum. She is often seen near the spots where the doctor conducted his experiments, as if she is still trying to save the souls that were lost. Giovanni's eyes filled with tears. "Marco," he said, "Isabella's story is a reminder that even in the darkest places, there is a glimmer of compassion and hope. She represents the struggle to bring light into the darkness, even when it seems impossible. Her spirit is a beacon for those who venture onto the island, reminding them of the humanity that still exists amidst the horror." The wind outside howled, and the fire crackled as Giovanni shared his final words. "Marco, you must remember these stories. They are not just tales of terror. They are a part of our history, a reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the resilience of the human spirit. The spirits of Poveglia are still seeking justice, and their stories must be told. As Giovanni finished his tale, I felt a deep sense of connection to the island and its haunted past. The stories he had shared were not just a recounting of events. They were a call to remember, to honor the souls that had suffered, and to ensure that their voices were not forgotten. My grandfather's tales had a profound impact on me. They were more than just stories. They were a testament to the power of memory and the importance of keeping the past alive. As I sat by the fire, I could feel the weight of history pressing down on me, the voices of the past calling out to be heard. The island of Poveglia was a place of darkness and despair, but it was also a place of resilience and hope. The spirits of the island were trapped in a cycle of suffering, but they were also a reminder of the strength of the human spirit. They had endured unimaginable horrors, but they had not been forgotten. Their stories lived on, carried forward by those who remembered and honored their legacy. My grandfather's tales had taught me the importance of compassion and the power of storytelling. They had shown me that even in the darkest of places, there was always a glimmer of light. The spirits of Poveglia were not just ghosts. They were a reminder of the enduring human spirit, a testament to the resilience of those who had suffered and survived. As the fire crackled and the wind howled outside, I felt a deep sense of connection to the past. The stories of Poveglia Island were not just tales of horror. They were a reminder of the importance of remembering and honoring those who had suffered. They were a call to action, a reminder that we must never forget the past, no matter how dark it may be. I looked at my grandfather, his face illuminated by the flickering firelight, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had shared these stories with me, not just to entertain, but to teach me about the importance of compassion and the power of memory. He had shown me that even in the darkest of places, there was always a glimmer of hope. "Marco," my grandfather said, breaking the silence, "these stories are not just for you. They are for everyone who cares about justice and humanity. They are a reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the resilience of the human spirit. You must share these stories with others, so that the spirits of Poveglia will not be forgotten." I nodded, understanding the weight of his words. The stories of Poveglia were more than just tales of terror. They were a call to action. They were a reminder that we must never forget the past, and that we must always strive for justice and compassion. As the night wore on, my grandfather continued to share his stories. He spoke of the horrors he had witnessed, the suffering he had seen, and the strength of those who had endured. Each story was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a glimmer of hope. The fire burned low, and the first light of dawn began to creep through the windows. My grandfather's voice grew softer, but the weight of his words remained. "Marco," he said, "you must remember these stories. They are a part of our history, a reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the resilience of the human spirit. The spirits of Poveglia are still seeking justice, and their stories must be told." As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the window, I felt a deep sense of responsibility. My grandfather had entrusted me with these stories, and it was my duty to share them with others. The spirits of Poveglia were still seeking justice, and it was up to me to ensure that their voices were heard. I stood by the window, looking out at the rising sun, and I made a silent promise. I would share these stories with the world. I would honor the memory of those who had suffered and ensure that their voices were not forgotten. The spirits of Poveglia would find justice, and their stories would live on. To our viewers, thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of Poveglia's mysteries. Your support and compassion have given these stories the light they needed to be told. As we close this final chapter, remember that no matter how dark the past may be, there is always a chance for redemption and peace. Keep exploring the unknown, and may your curiosity lead you to new discoveries. Like, share, and subscribe to American Pulse and Paranormal. Together, we can keep the memory of these spirits alive.